Me, the Grand Duchess Rasmus Sternen, also known as Ryan Thomas, are coming with part two of why we should protest the bombing of Syria. Yes, square heartedly believe, and I blame on this war. It's not a civil war. This is Barack Obama's war to get Assad out of office. He supported those terrorists. It's his responsibility. He's at crisis. He's in peril because he had no idea that his terrorist cells would strike innocent people and take innocent lives. So his propaganda tool and his scapegoat must be Al Qaeda, which is not a valid complement anymore. Anything associated with Al Qaeda is squarely his Al Qaeda, his mentality, their mentality. We It's the same with Mubarak and in Egypt. Nobody knew where this was coming from. Quiet little Egypt, peaceful little Egypt. Now turmoil in Egypt, Christians against Muslims and so forth. It was not like that. But let me go back and do some of the history of where we're coming for the war in the Middle East and the war on Muslim. It's like an Armageddon, like the Crusaders. They were going for Christ. What a disaster that was. They annihilated all the houses, all the legitimate royal houses of the Middle East, and divided up the Middle East for themselves. Ah, but how did this come along? It was George Bush and Billy Graham, George Bush 1 and George Bush 2. And no one remembers the Pope John Paul II saying, um, we have a crisis. I remember that sitting as a Catholic, we have a crisis in the world. I'm saying, what crisis? He said by year 2020 there will be so many Muslims, not enough Catholics. We shall have to close our Christian temples and our churches. They will marry us and they will become Muslims. And where will we be? Before George Bush II attacked Iraq, who did he have a conversation with? What was the brunt of that conversation? The Catholic Church is not exactly innocent. I don't know, there's some mindless people at the top. I have never seen intelligence rotten. It doesn't breed the immortality of wisdom and aspiration. Sure, we have saints, but for Pope to say, where are we going to be if there are more Muslims than us? That breeds fear, number one. Um, I'm going to make another comparison. When Francis was making something about homosexual, we can like sinners. Really? God didn't create sinners, He created men and women equally to function and to work for a living and to love and to find a love as He deemed fit. And so, what is it? This weapon of mass destruction. Too many Muslims in the world, and they're not like us. Therefore, let's attack them before they become too numerous and overpower us. That is one of the living fear. If you have been following international politics and Christianity, you would have known that. Ah, part of the philosophy and the ideology behind this administration, because whether or not he lived in Pakistan or whatever, that he's a Muslim, it is beyond me. But whether or not they have a foothold to provide a council, a world council, where they select who runs for president in what country. Benazir Bhutto was not one of theirs, but Musharraf was, and so forth. It's this manipulation and this control, not the values that we fought for under the Constitution. When we wanted our change and revolution, we demonstrated on our own. Nobody invaded us and got the British House. We asked for help. Nobody set a minefield of terrorists to spawn a revolution and throw the tea overboard. It was squarely the citizens. I can't fathom why this guerrilla warfare is being fought in these people by legitimate government. One thing that Assad did and nobody followed it, when he captured these terrorists, he started to do genetic testing. And I think what the results revealed that none of us, it was kind of masked in the media, that most of these terrorists were not even of Syrian descent. There were a lot of guerrillas from Colombia and so forth, drug cartel. This was their immigration crisis. Some of these some of these guerrillas that fight in some of these places in Egypt and Libya to get these um, leaders out, they had to find a place for them, and they weren't sending them back to Argentina, to Bolivia, or to Panama, wherever these drug lord cartels are. So they had to find some way of financing them and securing them. This is the supported terrorists of our government, killing innocent children and people. I agree with Russia. Russia was betrayed in World War One, first by its royal family. He knew if he attacked by the summer that everybody would be sleeping. In World War Two, Russia should have had a sweeping, um, should have played a role in decision making. So they decided to give them a certain amount of things to keep them quiet and the agenda that the Churchill agenda. In the pull down of the Cold War, the ending of the Cold War and the wall coming down. This Chechnya, Russia, and Georgia fight, nobody realized that they thought that Russia would be too powerful as a unified nation. So do you realize the same Muslim conflict? When it wasn't Muslim, it was a Jewish conflict. And Russia was never known for discrimination. But we find media and propaganda is very popular behind America dismantling other governments, right? So if you want to be the world power, I guess is that the right thing to do? But if we're looking for credibility and respect, sometimes our sins catch up with us, and it is right at his tail. So this Chechnya and Georgia thing, you notice it was a Muslim backed thing. And where were they coming from? And Saudi Arabia. Poor little Putin had to miss whatever she president of Georgia. She was supported by the American system, and so dismantling the amount of power Russia had. Gave Georgia independence. It was all for democracy. It wasn't. It was about influence and power. So Russia is right to support the Syrians. They were never supported in Afghanistan. And when they left Afghanistan, Americans came right in. And who came? What was the American influence in Afghanistan? Osama bin Laden. Whether or not he wanted to exist as a legitimate terrorist or as a spiritual healer, we will never know because of the propaganda. But maybe Osama is in the White House now. We might as well call him Obama bin Laden. And so Russia has every right to stand up by Syria. It's a moral right. Iran, it's a moral right. The axis of evil is right in our house, not